Aloha, and welcome to Knitted Paradise, where the needles are clicking and the yarn is squishy. My name is Lucia, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Pearl of the Pacific. Today is Sunday, December 7th, and this is episode 52. I realized last time that I said episode 50 when it was really episode 51. I hadn't updated my show notes. So, yay for me. So it is episode 52 this time. Sorry if that confused anybody. And yeah, it's been a pretty good week. I launched my patterns last Monday, which was really exciting. So thank you to everyone who's purchased them, everyone who's talked about them on my podcast and such and such. So that's been really exciting for me. I've also been wearing my hat and mitts all week, so that's been really nice. I mean, I've been wearing them before, but this week I was like, yeah, I'm really proud of these because I just launched a pattern. Not like anyone I know is a serious knitter. There are a couple people at work who knit, and once a week I get together with a friend of mine who's learning how to knit, and we talk about knitting for lunch. So I'm helping her with her first project, which is a hat, and yeah. Besides her learn to knit gigantic scarf out of some random acrylic that I had, but and I was like, I got her some nice yarn and some, she's still using wooden needles because they're grabbier, so they're easier for newer knitters. And I was like, let's knit a hat. Then it's something useful that you can do out of one skein. And it's not terribly tricky. So she's doing the Ricky hat, and she's doing it flat, and then I'll help her seam it up later. Because right now she's just comfortable with knitting. So I was like, the Ricky hat is perfect. You can just knit back and forth, and then later on we'll seam it up, and it'll become a hat. So that'll be fun. All right, well, let's get into the meat of things. Below the conch shell, we have the Informal swap yarn knit along, of which I have finished my item from my swap yarn, so that's pretty exciting. And that's just an informal thing. There's no prizes or chatter as much as you want along in the thread. It's fun to see people's projects that they make with their swap yarn. The next thing is the sweater knit along for Save the Children, and you have another week to get your sweaters in. And right now the chances are pretty high of winning a prize because there are 3 prizes and there are 3 people in there right now. So everyone in there is going to win a prize. So yay for you. Depends, whose name I draw, who gets what prize, but that's kind of fun. So if you have knit a sweater of any size and you finish it before the 12th, snap a quick picture and put it in the thread. I'm not asking for super fancy photography. It doesn't have to be an adult size sweater. I put these 2 in there. Obviously I can't win a prize, but those count. I mean, I knit those up in an hour, maybe even less. So any sort of, sweater, if you're knitting a baby sweater or even an adult size sweater, put it in there. All right. Let's see what else is. Oh, the accessories knit along. I think I'm going to open up that thread, and it'll go through the end of December. So any sort of accessory, like a hat or mitts or a cowl or whatever you consider an accessory, a shawl, things like that. Whatever fits under that accessories category when you're looking at patterns on Ravelry. So that's going to go, and the prize for that is a skein of SilverSpun. So I finally have mine wound up and I'm ready to knit with mine, so I'll let you know how that goes. All right, on the island, what I am knitting. I am still knitting on the Grant Park pullover. It didn't get a lot of attention this week, so I didn't even bring it out because it's black and you can't really see anything. The other thing is the sweater garland, which I know I finished those 2 last week. I have not knit another one yet, but I do plan on it. The next thing I've been working on is the socks, which are of course in the bottom of this bag, which is the Polperro Hornpipe by Deep Sea Knits, and these are out of Miss Babs Cosmic Hand Paints in the Fraser colorway. And as you can see, I have turned both heels, and I'm now working up the leg, and I am doing the pattern on the back side as well. So these are coming along slowly because they are gigantic man feet socks. I think he wears like a size 11 or something. They're long. I was like, can you just measure your feet so I make sure these are long enough? Because that's the worst thing when you knit socks for someone and they have gigantic feet and you just didn't make them long enough. So they are nice and large, and those are coming along. And I'll probably be done with them by the time his birthday rolls around, so that's good. And I have that much yarn left. I did break it. There was a knot in the skein, and so I decided it was kind of near the middle, so I decided to just have two balls, which I know normally I have them connected. One was like 60 grams and this one was 40 grams or something like that. So I'm gonna, until I run out of this one, and then see where we're at. I may just continue with the other end of this one, and I think I'm gonna have to do the cuff in another color, because I know a lot of guys like their socks tall. So that's where those are at. So those are my on-the-go knitting a lot. So I've got the pattern memorized at this point, so that's nice. All right. The other thing is Foolproof, which is by Louise Zass Bangham out of Mrs. Crosby's Satchel in Varied Bunting, which is the very good colorway, and French Chambre, which is the other colorway. And I finished Clue 1. This was originally done as a mystery knit along. So I finished Clue 1 and I've just started Clue 2. This is where you knit back and forth. So as you can see, I've got this space right here. I have these on my Addy clicks, and I don't have stoppers for the ends of these, so I just left it on the needle. It's not bothering me whatsoever. So I'm just knitting back and forth on this. And then, so this is one stripey section. And then I think you go back to this side. And then you do something and they close up at the end and become a cow. So that is what I'm doing right now. And this is for my mom's birthday at the end of December. So I've got plenty of time. As long as I just keep going. So that's it for on the needles that's actually got work done. So set sail. I have a few things. I finished, we'll start with this one. I finished the split back snowflake hat with Susan B. Anderson. And this is out of Quince & Co. Chickadee in Bird's Egg, which is the light, and River, which is the dark blue. And it's done, and I did make the pom-pom. This is a gigantic pom-pom and kind of raggedy looking, so I will probably trim it up. But I finished this yesterday, and I just washed and blocked this. And I made this while it was drying, basically. It's mostly dry. I think the edges are still a little bit damp, but there will be a pom-pom on the top of that. I almost want to leave it like that. No, I really don't. I'll trim it up a bit. But I was so worried about running out of the dark blue, but I actually had enough to add some to the pom-pom, so that was really exciting. So here, I'll put it on. Give myself crazy hair, but it is a little slouchy, and that's really perfect for me. It covers my ears, which is really the most important part, and I do like the fact that it's got that split back, which means it comes a little farther over my ears, which is what I really want in a hat because it's cold and windy here, and that's part of my head that gets cold. Because I have plenty of hair to keep the rest of my head warm, but my ears get cold. So I will be attaching that today, and then it will be done. And yeah, put that in here. I didn't really ever have a bag, but so I'm sticking it in a bag with another project for now that hasn't quite gotten started. All right, now that I have crazy hair. Ugh. All right, the other thing I finished was another triple swell hat. What? Yes, I've now knit 3 of them. A coworker of mine saw me on the train to work. I wasn't actually wearing the triple swell hat. I was wearing a different hat, and but it was slouchy, kind of like the triple swell hat. And she's like, "Oh, I want a hat like that, but in black." I was like, "Okay." So I actually had some black in my stash. I had some Deve Zenith in it's color like 600, which is basically black. And I just finished it yesterday and blocked it. So this is the triple swell hat. This is one of the patterns I released, and it is in black. So it's really hard to kind of see the lacy pattern, but there you can see it. But it is a slouchy, slightly slouchy. It's not super slouchy, which I like. And ooh, there's an end. I had to weave them in, I just didn't clip them yet. So you could like pull it over like a beret. I just look silly. Anyway, that is that. And I will kind of segue into flora and fauna. We'll come back. I do one more finished object, but that's also kind of the flora and fauna section. Gosh, I should stop modeling hats and just leave them on. Fortunately, this one isn't for me, so I can't like leave it on. But I wanted to talk a little bit about blocking. I know you probably all know about blocking, and you do blocking, and you've heard lots of different things, but I just wanted to talk about some of the types of blocking, some of the tools that I use, and some of the tips that I have. So we'll start with different types of blocking. One of them, the one that I use pretty much all the time, is wet blocking, where you throw stuff in water with some wool wash of some sort, and you just let it soak in for 15 to 30 minutes, and then you take it out. You kind of squeeze all the water out. I usually roll it in a towel and squeeze as much water as I can out, and then either you lay it out or you pin it out or you put it on something to get it to the form you want. Another type is steam blocking, where you lay it out kind of how you want, and then you like spritz it with water. I guess this is spray blocking, and then you you shape it, and then let it sit to dry. Steam blocking is where you have like a steamer. I don't have a steamer, where you're like steaming it. Pan, what are you doing? Hold on a second. Pan. He got himself stuck in a bag. Cats and bags, right? He's very interested in this bag. Anyway, we'll leave him silent. Now he's going to get his head stuck in it again. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry about that. The bag has been disposed of, so he doesn't make a ton of noise. All right, back to blocking. Steam blocking is when you have a steamer, or you could use an iron with steam in it. So it's hot water, and you spray it on and then shape it. It's similar to spray blocking. Anyway, there are other types of blocking, but those are the ones that I know about most. I pretty much just use wet blocking. I just soak the thing and then shape it and let it dry. It's generally because I find that when things are soaked, they tend to be more pliable, if that's a word. I mean, I know that's a word, but if that's applicable, just in the fact that when the stitches are wet, they tend to stretch more, and so you can put them more into the shape that you want. And this works for superwash and non-superwash fabrics. With non-superwash, obviously, when you put it in the water, you don't agitate it a lot, because then it will felt. But, I soak it in there and kind of, moosh it around, make sure everything's getting wet, turn it over, things like that. Anyway, I guess okay, that's it for types of blocking. We'll get on to tools of blocking. One thing that I wanted to show you, now that I'm talking about the hat, is that I say in the end of the pattern, weave in the ends and block over a plate. And so you're like, block over a plate. This is what I mean. I actually have it's a pasta bowl, because our dinner plates are really big, and so if I put this over the dinner plate, it gets really big or doesn't fit, and then also you get this kind of line in it. I mean, this one kind of has it, but not as severely. So you can kind of see that line where the edge of the plate is. And if you just kind of stretch it out, and you don't really notice it. My other hat that I've wore, a few times, I don't notice. So the way I do it is I have the hat and I have my pasta bowl, and you just kind of put it over the pasta bowl, and then I just kind of, this is dry now, so it doesn't stretch as much, but I'll pull it around, and then I'll leave it like this to dry for a little bit, and then I'll put it like this to dry for a little bit so this area gets dry, and then switch it back. The reason you don't want to leave it like this for a long period of time, especially if you're using like a pasta bowl, is that this kind of right here, when you put it, like usually I'll put it on a blocking mat, is that under here doesn't really get air if you're putting it on a flat surface. And so it tends to not dry, basically. So, I'll leave it like this for a few hours and then tip it up for a few hours. And, when I remember, or, I'll leave it like this overnight and then this during the day or something like that, till it's dry. And, yeah, it tends to help, especially block out lace. So you can see how the lace really blocks out on that. You can really see the crown decreases there. And, yeah, so that's what I talk about when I say block over a plate. And so plates, dishes can also be blocking tools. And put that over there. And voila, you get a hat. All right, I'm going to put this inside out so I remember to clip off the ends before I give it to my coworker. She's going to be like, what are all these things? So that is done. Another, in terms of tools, right? I know I showed this on another podcast, but I have this bucket that I got, I think, from the dollar store or Target or something like that. And it's just this big, I've got stuff in it now, of course. It's this big bucket that actually does fit in my bathroom sink. It also fits in my kitchen sink. And this is what I use to wet block stuff. And I'll just, put it under the faucet, put a little dollop of wool wash in here and fill it up with actually pretty cold water. And then, let it sit in there. And often I'll just leave it in the sink. But the reason I use a bucket is so that I don't have to clean out my sink every time I need to block something. Just, because there's toothpaste and cat hair and, whatever in there. And so this is really nice to just kind of have it. And often I use this as my hamper for things that need to get washed, like my, socks and stuff. I'll just put them in here. And so when I need to block something, I'm like, oh, well, those are dirty, so we'll just, wash them in the bucket. So it kind of serves two purposes. And then if I need to take it out of the sink, someone needs to brush their teeth or wash their face or whatever, I can easily, with the handles, just take it out, put it on the floor or whatever. So that's really nifty. That I've used that quite a lot. And you can use that for other hand washing stuff too. The other thing I wanted to talk about were blocking wires. And I'll show you. Let's see if I can get this. This is the Whispering Pines shawl that I finished. And I blocked it yesterday, or pinned it out yesterday. Let's see. I've got it on the blocking boards over here pinned out. So I'm going to try to show you at least part of it. And the cat is, of course, very interested. So this is the corner of it. So as you can see, I've got blocking wires through all of the little picot bind-off edges. And then I have them, looped through the, the yarn overs along the top edge. And these are the Infinity blocking wires, which I'll show you to you in a second. But I have found these blocking wires to be a very, very good investment in terms of blocking shawls in particular. It's super easy, really quick, and you just take them out. They're really flexible, and so they're stored in. They came in a bag. They came in this basically, and there's a big Ziploc. I'll show you in a second. But they just curl up in there, and they've got little protectors on the end, and they're great. And you take them out, and you just weave them through, and then pin them out. So they also, the blocking wires do come with these little T-pins. Take one out and show them to you. So that's what they look like. You can also just get these by themselves. I'll just stick this in over here for now. And the reason I love the blocking wires is that you don't have to use nearly as many T-pins as you would without them in order to get a straight edge. Especially with shawls, when you're trying to get a straight edge, along the top here, then, or even along the edge here, it's really easy with the blocking wires because you just pin them to be straight. If you want a scooped edge, you can pin them like that, and they're pretty flexible, surprisingly, and they do bounce back into a straight line, so that's really nice. I haven't had any problems with them. So this is my Whispering Pine shawl. The whole thing is down there. I just haven't unpinned it yet. I pinned it out last night, and I usually like to let it sit for a good number of hours. So, cool. Blocking boards are coming apart. Speaking of blocking boards, I will also share blocking boards. These are ones that I got from Knit Picks, and I'm going to put this down now because it's hard to hold. The blocking mats are something I got from Knit Picks. You can get them from a lot of different places, but those were fairly cheap. They're just foam mats that lock together. You can get them. They're also like children's play mats, or those kinds of things are similar. And I use them a lot. I use them even when blocking hats and stuff. I'll just lay them out on them. Or I told you about the plate thing. I just put it on a blocking mat because I don't have to worry about the water doesn't seep through, so that's really nice. They're really easy to pin things to, and you can put them in all sorts of shapes because they do come apart and go back together in different things. And so those are the tools I use. We'll go through them again. So this is where the blocking starts. It's in this bucket that was super cheap. And then a towel to roll things out in. And then I'll either use a plate or just lay things out, or use the blocking wires and the T-pins. Those are really my major blocking tools. And this is what I was talking about in the bag. So These are the Infinity Premium Blocking Wires, and they come in a bunch of different sizes. So the ones I use most frequently, especially with shawls, are these big ones. And it comes with six of each size. There's 3 different sizes. So they come like this, and you just take, they've got these little tip protectors. You can take those off. And then there's this thing that holds all of them in there. And they just bounce right back to being straight. I mean, they've been stored like that for years. Okay, maybe about 2 years, but so they're super flexible. You know, you can pin them in all sorts of wavy shapes, and Pan is now very interested. Off you go. And they're really easy to store. You just take the ends and put them back through the thing, and then put the little tip protectors back on. Ta-da! And then you put them back in the bag. So those are the really long ones. And like, for instance, on the top of my shawl, I used one of the long ones for one side and one of them for the other side, and then I used one of them for the bottom edge and another one for the other bottom edge. So I used 4, and they were just long enough for those bottom edge. I probably should have used a shorter one with it, but whatever. And then these are the other size, or the middle size. And I don't know how long they are compared to these ones, but there's 6 of those. There's only 2 of these here because the other 4 are in the shawl. And then these are the shortest ones, which are great if your really long ones don't quite reach it. These are perfect because you don't really need, a full one of these, because then they just get in the way. You just need just that much. And these are fabulous. They also give you extras of the point protectors, the ends, and the bigger ones in the middle that hold them together. So that, let's get these all back in the bag. And so they give you little baggies with extra ones in them. One of the baggies has half the point protectors for those. Anyway, and I just keep them in the packaging that they came in. There's like a cardboard thing in here, just to keep them nice and flat, so that they're easy to store and I don't have to worry about bending them. And it just makes it easier. So those are, I guess, the tools, and my tips are use the tools. Read the instructions on your pattern and on the yarn as to how they think you should, wash and block said yarn, or said pattern, because there are different patterns that maybe benefit from wet blocking, or they benefit from steam blocking, or no blocking at all. I really like the way things look after they're blocked. It evens out your stitches. It, especially when you're doing lace, it will open up the lace. It will do a lot of really cool things. I remember in the beginning when I was knitting, I was thinking, blocking, who needs to block anything? And then I started blocking things, and I was like, oh, this actually really helps. It, things really look better after they're blocked. If they're lace or if they're not lace, it doesn't really matter. They just look better blocked. And where'd my hat go? This hat, it looked fairly similar before I blocked it, but after I blocked it, it really evens out the stitches. It, you can kind of stretch it to a size you want, and if you get nice smelling wool wash, it smells really nice. I use my Euclid lavender one, and it smells really nice. And it often will soften up the yarn as well, which is really nice. So think that's it for flora and fauna. I have something from my holiday, but I forgot to grab it, so oh well, we'll show it next time. I think that's it for this week. I'm gonna go finish getting ready for choir, and I will see you all later. Bye!